That's and as you know, that our news portal is totally for Indians and all our friends around the world. So, today, our guest is Alfonso Lopez Tena, who is an eminent author in various newspapers which has been published around the world. He writes frequently for uh, ST Tweets, which is in India. He also writes the article regularly on the Business Insider and as well as the famous Jerusalem Post. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your time.
Thanks to you for calling.
Yeah. So, as you know, the latest happening in France has sent a shock waves around the world, right? And you can see the protest as well, and all around the world, people are openly in support uh, to the French government. So, what do you think that what's the message it has portrayed towards the world?
The message from France and the President Macron has given just an interview to Al Jazeera in Arabic today is that we gon' yield to fanaticism. I mean, our societies are built on secularism, are built on tolerance, are built on freedom for everybody. Everybody, anybody is free to practice his religion or not. I mean, atheists, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims are equally Jewish, are equally free to practice their religion. But none of them can impose their values, their rules of its religion to everybody, to the state, to the public sphere. That's secularism. And that is not just a question of principle. I mean, when Catholicism and Protestantism split in the 16th century, we had in Europe a century, more or less, of civil wars and strife, and that was the compromise. And after that, in the 18th century, beginning in France and the United States and the independence of the United States, that is a wall of separation, that is secularism. The state must not put itself to the service of one religion, even if it's absolutely overwhelmingly majority. It cannot impose a religion and it cannot impose the beliefs or feelings of that religion. If you remember these kind of cartoons that part of Muslims, because it's just the extremists, it's just the people that are willing to kill for their religion, they kill also for Christianity, they kill also for Buddhism, for instance, in Burma or Myanmar. They kill also Christianity in Uganda. And do you remember the Spanish Inquisition? And do you remember the coup of Franco was made as a holy crusade? So that is done for every religion, or has been done for every religion. So that people must be condemned and must be without any hesitation, because we cannot afford a civil strife between people being attacked because they are religious, because they are of a different religion. These attacks are being led to Christian churches, to a Catholic church and to an Orthodox church. There were to Jewish previously than that. And we will never yield, because we first had to combat the Catholic Church and combat also Protestant churches to establish this kind of secularism and freedom and tolerance for everybody in Europe, in France, in Spain, in Italy, in Switzerland, in the United Kingdom, everywhere in Europe, and in the United States as well, and in Latin America as well. There was a civil war about that in Mexico at the beginning of the 20th century. So we are not going to yield to that. And we establish also that there is a clear difference. The overwhelming majority of Muslims are not following these terrorist individuals or groups, because the first victims are Muslims themselves, because they are imposed a kind of religion or a kind of behavior that they don't want to, by the Islamists, by the jihadists. And it's the same thing in India, as you know. I mean, you
Yeah.
cannot establish a Hinduism as a compulsory under rules of the state on behalf of just a part of the population, even if it's largely majoritarian, as Catholics in Spain.
So, your points are quite correct, and we totally agree with the views. So, in the recent times, we have seen that, as we have heard since our childhood, that Islam is a peaceful religion, right?
Yeah, all religions have this kernel of violence and this kernel also of peace. Christianity or Catholicism specifically have been very militant and have killed millions of people in their history, and also Islam, and also Hinduism, and also Buddhism, and also the Jewish religion. All religions have that. So I think that what we must do is to isolate this part of violence, of terrorism, and to uphold those religious people that are peaceful. Because all religions had this kernel of violence, and all the religions have also this kernel of tolerance and peace.
So, as you know, that France has openly opened a front against the radical Islamic terror, right? So,
I don't
what?
hear you well now.
Yeah, okay. So, my question is that France has openly opened a stand against the radical Islamic terror. So, do you think that many countries like Europe, sorry, countries like Germany and UK as well will follow the same footsteps in the near future?
Yeah, they are doing that. They are declaring that, and they are doing that because we have this problem. And this problem, I insist, that's the problem nowadays. The problem in Europe is by that radical fringe of Islamists, of jihadists. But in Uganda and the surrounding countries, is by Christians, by the law resistance army that kills and maim people on behalf of Christianity. And we
Yeah.
have this, in Myanmar and Burma, you have this problem established by Buddhists. And in Pakistan, it's established by Muslims. And in India, it's established by Hindus. So the question is separate that. There are the overwhelming majority of religious people of all religions are peaceful and don't want to impose their will to those not to non-believers. But there is a radical fringe that is willing to kill on behalf of their ideas. It's also in the political ideas. You remember the killings by communism, by fascists? I mean, it's every idea. Human being is that way. Every idea recruits people that uphold it peacefully and want to convince out another people peacefully. And there are another people that want to impose it. We suffer it. We had three civil wars to establish equality in the 19th century. I mean, in Catalonia and in Spain. And we have a civil war in the 20th century said as a holy crusade against liberals, against seculars. So that's what we must do to hold arms together, to hold hands together, atheists, Catholics, Protestants, Hindus, Buddhists, Jews, Muslims, to isolate and to combat together those who kill in name of what they call their God.
So, after the attacks of 2015 in France, which was implemented on the Charlie Hebdo, right, in the
Mhm.
year 2015. So, I think after such a long span, France is under the same terror, and many countries as well. You can
I've
take the
lost you.
exam. Yeah. Uh, my question was that after the 2015 attacks on the office of Charlie Hebdo in France, after the span of 5 years, France is suffering with the same thing which they were in the past. So do you think that at that time uh, French government should have taken a bold step at that time so that the things which are being happening right now, it would have been avoided?
Uh, I think we have two things. I think we have to say something about that. In France, there are around 7 million Muslims.
Yeah,
That is 10% of the population, more or less. It's just a handful. Against Charlie Hebdo, it was five. Has been a very young man that came from Tunisia as a refugee, and it's just one person. So put it in perspective. You have 7 million French Muslims because they are French, equal French as any other French from any other religion or lack of religion, atheists, and it's just a handful. They have not the support of the Muslim community in France, of the French people that are Muslim, and rightly so. They have the right to do that, but nobody has the right to kill another people because they don't belong to the same religion.
so in a recent interview, we in a recent interview of a Polish minister, right? He openly said that they are happy to accept the other refugees.
I cannot hear you good
I think
now.
some, yeah, sure. So my question is, recently the in an exclusive interview, the Polish minister openly said on the national channel that they are happy to accept the refugees of other religion, but they won't accept a single Muslim, right?
No, I didn't say that.
No, but in India, yeah, I'm just making it clear that in the various media houses and in other country, his statement was portrayed in such a manner that he's an anti-Muslim. So
I haven't read that. I haven't heard that on any media. And think a little bit. If there are 6 or 7 million overwhelming majorities, because they went from Northern Africa mainly or the Middle East. No, not because there are friends that have converted to Islam. And do you remember that? 5 years ago, when millions of people were expelled by the Syrian civil war that was mainly between Muslims themselves, they were accepted in Germany and in other European countries, in Sweden, in England, in France, in Spain. So that's not the point. I mean, we must be, and we mainly are, religion blind. Somebody is accepted as a refugee if it's a legitimate refugee or an economic refugee, not because of his or her religion or lack thereof. I mean, I haven't read this can and think a little bit. That's the ISIS or the Al Qaeda playbook. They say openly, well, we need to get the Muslims being persecuted to join our ranks. So we must attack the countries that are not Muslim, like India, like Europe, like the United States, in order to get them to lose their mind and to attack Muslims as such. Because in that case, in that moment, we, terrorists, ISIS, Al Qaeda, will be able to protect them and to join us.
so
They talk. We want to finish this gray zone, as they call it. There are a lot. Well, you can see in Germany, in Catalonia, for instance,
yeah, correct.
Catalonia is a Muslim, and his family went from Morocco. And there are a lot of ministers, of talking on politics, of ministers, of MPs, of legislators, lawgivers that are Muslims. So there is not a problem with Muslims as such. There is not. The problem is with those people who kill because they say that they kill on behalf of their God. But being the Muslims or any other religion or lack thereof.
So I have a specific question, and it is from Quran, right? And you can find that the ISIS and the Al Qaeda often quote these verses. So I want to read it again, and further we can have a topic over there. So in Quran it's written, it says that Muslims have the right to subjugate the world. Number one. Number two, you can hear me, right?
Not very well. Could you repeat?
Okay, sure. Muslims have the right to subjugate the world. Number one.
Mhm.
Number two, and should fight till the whole world accept the supremacy of Allah's Islam.
Yeah.
And so, if the ISIS and Al Qaeda are taking people in with this opinion and in this thought, in short, they just want to rule the entire world for their own personal agenda, right? But sir, you will also admit to some extent that
I,
why, yeah,
mm, I, I'm
you
losing
you
you
will,
again.
sure, sure. So you will also agree to some extent that the Muslims are most prone to pick up the arms. Muslims are more prone to pick up the arms, as you can see in Pakistan. That people want to turn into a terrorist, not as a doctor or as an engineer. So, do you think that something is wrong with the narrative, or something is wrong with the state and state like Pakistan? I'm quoting this on behalf of Pakistan because that's what they always use and preach in the social media.
I don't agree. I don't agree with you on that. I don't agree at all. And it's not a problem as such. It's a problem with those people of Muslim people that are willing to kill on behalf of Islam. And you say it's the main threat. No, it isn't. It isn't. I mean, it depends on the country. In northern Uganda and surrounding countries, is a Lord Resistance Army that they say that they want establish a theocratic Christian republic. It was the same in Spain. They want to establish, and it was just 80 years ago, and they established a theocracy, a Catholic theocracy for a dictatorship for 40 years. I fought against that when I was a teen, and etc. etc. In Myanmar or Burma, it's a Buddhist who persecutes or
So,
genocide against
what?
Rohingya. So the question here is another thing: is like when this kind of religious, of extremist religious people had conquered the state and have the power inside the state, they act that way. That's the problem of Pakistan. The problem of Pakistan is that they are not a secular country. They are not a secular state. So what must we do? But it's not a problem of Pakistan as such. It's a problem inside Pakistan between the overwhelming majority of Pakistanis that are peaceful and they want a secular republic, as Jinnah
Right,
said,
correct.
as Jinnah established, and the people that want to persecute, to oppress all those Muslims are not Muslims alike, like Ahmadis, like Christians, like Hindus, like Buddhists, that don't follow the they established. That was the same thing in Spain. Catholics did that, but not. It's not a problem of Catholicism or Islam as such. It's a problem of all those who kill because they're of their religious ideas. So we must embrace, in this case, embrace Muslims as brothers and sisters, and isolate and combat fiercely against those who want to kill us.
So, well said, and I think it should be taken into the consideration of all. But, sir, I have a question on this topic that I have often heard and I have often seen in the social media and other articles that the Muslims have to pertain to jihad, right?
Oh, I've lost you
So,
completely.
sure. So, we have often heard and read in the scriptures and verses that a Muslim have to pertain to obtain jihad, right? So, but in the context of the Islamic organizations like Al Qaeda and ISIS, for them it means to kill the infidels. So,
Mhm.
in your opinion, what's the right narrative and what should be followed? And I can see in the recent past the Muslims have been quiet on this aspect because if they believe that Islam is a peaceful place and people, so then why the organization like ISIS and Al Qaeda are killing people daily for this purpose?
Well, I will remember you. I don't know the sacred text of Hinduism well, but surely you will find verses saying something similar. In the Gospels, for instance, Jesus that was established there as the Son of God and God Himself, and the only God, said, "I don't bring you peace; I bring you a sword." So there are always in all religions you have always this kind. If you read the Bible, the Jewish Bible, there are a lot of this kind of statement in the Quran as well. So the question is not a problem of Muslims. Don't do that. If you are going to follow that path, we will fight you. But it's not, Muslims are not the enemy. Extremists in the name
Are
of Islam are.
so what
In
happened
the
in
name
past?
of Islam, in the name of, because I insist that our history is a close history. I live a fought against a Catholic dictatorship. It's in my own life. So it's not a question of, but never, I thought that we never thought that it was because Catholicism or Christianity as such as inherently violent and Catholics and Christians must kill other people. Some did and won a civil war and killed thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Of so it's would you say that Christianity is violent as such? There are killings of Muslims in India on behalf of Hinduism, of people that say, well, they are not they are not Hindus, they don't submit, so we must kill them. But that's a tiny
Uh,
minority. Yeah,
so I want to interrupt you on this. So see, what happens in India is that our country is a secular state, right? And everybody has their own rights and freedom.
yeah.
And right, and so there are some section of media in India who have always portrayed India as a Hindu-dominated society. But trust me, I can say this on record. I have my Muslim friends. We wish them on Eid, and they wish us on our festival as well.
Of course, no
Yeah,
need,
no, no,
no need
no.
to explain me that.
Yeah,
I
I
love
can
India.
understand. Yeah, we
I
know.
have Indian friends. I've been a lot of times in India, so
Yeah,
and I have never met any kind of discrimination of Muslims or Hindus. But a fringe of Hindus do that, as a fringe of Muslims do that, as a fringe of Jews do that, as a fringe of Christians do that, all over the world, as a fringe of bodies do that. What's the problem? Keep a secular state, because that's the only way of living together, of tolerance, of freedom for everybody to practice the religion or not practice any religion at all. See what happens in Myanmar or what happens in Burma. And it's not in the name of Islam. See what happens in China, in Xinjiang, and the Uyghurs.
so I have seen some. So, for example, you can see the in the recent times the Turkish president uh, Erdogan has tried himself to portray as the modern day caliphate, and he's trying to uh, make world an Islamic world, right? You also can see from his points which he has made on the UN Assembly as well. So and a faction of group are with one part of the group, and Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia has come together on various platforms. So my question is that are we prepared to face them to stop the radicalization of Islam, which they're trying to bestow on us?
Oh, I've lost the final question. I've lost the last your last word.
Yeah.
Are
So,
we prepared for what?
so are they trying to bestow the radical thoughts on the rest of the world?
Yeah. Well,
And
we are not willing to accept that. We will never yield. You must remember that in Europe we have fought against religious fanaticism. In this case, in our case, Christian fanaticism, with pitchforks and with our bare hands. And it was the 100% religion of all the society. And we, seculars and liberals, won. And that's the reason that that kernel of violence and imposition and make a wall, Christian wall for they lost. And after that, they lost because the overwhelming majority of Christians were not willing to do that and were not willing to kill their neighbors because of that. And so we have changed our societies from theocracies that they were three centuries, 4 centuries ago to secular and liberal societies and secular and liberal states. So we are willing to do it again, no problem on that. I mean, we embrace everybody, regardless of their religion or their lack of religion. But we are not willing to tolerate violence and to accept people that killed for whatever reason, their religion, as they say, or their political ideology, anything. And remember another thing, that's a play of Erdogan and Imran Khan of Pakistan also. They are playing another game. They are playing the game of a geopolitical game of making their countries more important than they are nowadays against Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia, because of its wealth, uh, has had the upper hand between the societies that are majority Muslim majorities. Is that just that? What is doing Pakistan to Imran Khan in Pakistan to against the Chinese dictatorship that is killing, that is practicing a genocide, a concentration camp hundreds of thousands of Muslims. What is doing Erdogan about that? What are they doing about Rohingya? What are we doing about the Muslims that are being persecuted and expelled from Burma? So what's the problem? A cartoon? That's the problem? A cartoon? A cartoon if you remember, a cartoon in a satirical review that has published cartoons mocking the Christian God and mocking the Holy Virgin, mocking Jesus, and mocking Yahweh, and mocking any other religion because I don't like that, but they have the right to do it. They have the right to do it because freedom of expression is paramount.
So, it was a quite right point which you made just right now. My next question is that I have seen a sense of hypocrisy uh, from the part of Imran Khan and from the Erdogan as well when it comes to the atrocities on the Muslims in China, right? So, what you think that it's a uh, one-sided atrocity, or they are just quite as China is funding them heavily?
Not
What's your stand on
really.
that?
Not really. I mean, in the case of Pakistan, of course, but not in the case of Turkey. Not in the case of Turkey. So it's not a question of being funded. It's because they put the extremist Islam above the real Muslims, above the real people that is suffering and is being killed in China, or in Burma, or in Sri Lanka, for instance, or the Hindus that are being killed on Sri Lanka, as you know, as you are perfectly aware. So that's the point. I mean, they want to establish a society or where everybody must submit to the most radical jihadist Islam available because they have established this kind of regime in their countries. But it's not because they care for real people that happen to be Muslims. Because the importance in that case is that all human beings are equal, whatever their religion, whatever their lack thereof. So, in the case of Imran Khan of Pakistan or Erdogan of China, it's just hypocrisy.
So oftenly we have seen the stance of Israel,
Mhm.
right? And Israel is known for its staunch stand on to counter such narrative. So do you think that rest of the world should follow the Israel model if needed?
Um, Israel has also this problem. Israel has been a secular state and has been a liberal state. You had a lot of Muslims that are members of the parliament that participate on politics, that participate on the Israeli life. Of course, there are flaws, but that's the principle. That's not the same thing of Jews in all these Muslim countries that oppress them. They oppress Muslims because they are dictatorships, real dictatorships, outright dictatorships, as the Gulf countries or Turkey nowadays, or becoming a dictatorship every day, like Pakistan. But that's a problem in Israel. In Israel, the current Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to establish also Israel as a religious Jewish state, and that's against the Jews themselves, and that's against, of course, of all the people that are not of Jewish religion. There are a lot of atheists in Israel, and Christians and Muslims as well. So this is a fight that we have in every country. In every country, in the United States, you find that on extremists from Muslim the evangelical Protestants that want to establish a theocratic republic in the United States and want to establish that the religion's rules must be imposed to everybody. So that is a fight that we have in every country, in India, as well as in Pakistan, as well as in Spain, as well as in the United States, or as well as in Mexico. There is not a question of Islam from my point of view. It's a matter of freedom and tolerance to everybody, or civil war inside every country by people that want to establish a theocratic regime. We suffered that in 1936. We had a civil war on that in 1936, 1939. And we had a state on behalf of the Catholic religion, and we had privileges for the Catholic Church, and they lasted 40 years. I invite you to see the wider picture, not just, of course, the problem in nowadays in France or in Spain or all around Europe or in India is Islamist extremism. But that's not the case in other countries. The problem of this kind of religious extremism in the United States is not Muslims, it's Christians, or in parts of Africa. And the problem in Myanmar is not Muslims, it's Buddhists, it's the theocratic regime on behalf of Buddhism. That, but it's not, do not kill in the name of the religion in India or in Europe or in the Americas. But they do that. Some of them do that in Burma or Myanmar.
Correct, sir. I totally agree with your views. So, sir, my last question for you for today is, sir, what do you think? Trump or Joe Biden for US, in your opinion?
Who do I think that is going to win?
Yes.
Well, it's a difficult question. I think it's Biden. But you may think that the elections, the presidential elections in the United States, are not a nationwide election like in India or in France. There are 50 different elections in 50 different states with 50 different set of rules, even in every county or every town or city. So it's possible that Trump loses the popular vote, but gets the presidency by tricks, by judicial tricks. I've just written and published an article about that. But I hope and I think, and all the polls go in the same way, that Biden is going to win. And I hope that Biden wins, of course.
So, but as you can see that Trump has a fan base in India, right?
Yeah.
And our esteemed Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has also rendered his support for Trump. So, do you think that that the Indians will play a vital role in this US election this time?
First of all, I think that it's not accurate to say Indians or blacks or Jewish or Christian. That at the same different identities of Indian origin, of Hinduism or lack thereof, or being a man or a woman, or being class, the work, the job, etc., etc. So I would like to, as much people as possible, vote for Biden to throw Trump out. But not because he's good or bad for this or that community. It's because he's bad for everybody, for any community and every person, from my point of view, of course. So if you see Indian Americans, if you see the polls about Indian Americans, they are overwhelmingly against Trump. They are overwhelmingly saying that they are going to vote Biden. And the polls that have been directed exactly to Indian Americans.
So, so But when last year,
her
when
body modified.
yeah, correct. So, but in the last year, when Narendra Modi visited USA, and he had hold a campaign in the Texas called Howdy Modi, right? And entire world has witnessed the support uh, which came in for Trump and Modi as well in USA. And
Mhm.
and such kind of support we as an Indians can only expect in India. But but the traits and the char- charisma of the both leaders can be seen in the minds of Indian Americans. In the recent times, the tweets from Kamala Harris has been on the target of Indians for
I'm losing.
yeah, sure. So in the recent times, the Kamala Harris tweets
Mhm.
have been into the triggered of Indians because she has tried to portray herself as an Indian, but she has intentionally hurted the sentiments of Indians with her uh, tweets, which have not went into our favor. So, do you think, as my last question, I want to say it again and again, as all the media houses have quoted this, that this time the vote bank of Indian Americans will play a vital role in the US election. So, do you think that such factors will play a major role, and Trump has a fair chance, as Indians are openly
I
supporting?
lost the question.
I think it's again the mistake. Sure, sir, no worries.
No, that
Yeah,
they are supporting. They are supporting Trump. Well, polls don't say that. And in any case, I think that is a mistake to say, well, since that candidate has the support of the prime minister of the country of origin, we must support him. Or say, well, since this candidate has that origin, that is the case of Kamala Harris, her mother was of Indian origin. Uh, so that as a reason to vote for something, so for somebody, I don't agree with that. Look at her policies, or look at his policies, and its proposal, and its character. I mean, and all these things that she or he going to be president or a goodbye president, regardless of skin, of color, of origins, or these kind of things. Just look at what he says, what she says, what he does, and what's the as any other politician, as any other politician. I suppose that when you vote because you agree more or less with that
I
candidate,
understand. Yeah.
not with all another candidate, not because it's origin or age or whatever, because it's policies which matter. Policies means that the government must be for everybody, for all the
Correct.
people, for the people
Yes.
that have voted for that candidate, and for the people that haven't voted for that candidate as well, because for all the citizens, for all the country.
So yes, it was wonderful to have you on our platform, and I hope we will have more interactions in near future on the various issues which is happening in the world. I want to thank Alfonso again, right from the core of my heart, that he gave his time for us. And thank you so much, sir, for your time and your views on my platform. And we love you, and Indians love you, and let's hope that peace prevails around the world, and world should be a happy place.
I agree with that. And I love India and Indians. And I have
Yes.
Indian friends. And I have been, not
Yeah.
now because of the pandemic. I miss India.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So much. So thanks and freedom and peace and tolerance for everybody, and fight a real fight, the fight against extremists,
Yes, sir.
regardless of their religion.
Thank you so much, sir. And
Thanks.
here's our guest for today, Mr. Alfonso Lopez Tena, and he has wonderfully and beautifully explained each and every questions without any hesitation. I hope you like this interview, and for latest updates, kindly follow Nada's Buzz. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.